everybody, I am Dallin with County 10, and we're here with Patrick from Wind River Internet, and we are going to do yet another one of the tech Q&A sessions, and this time, if I remember correctly, we're going to be talking about just general internet technology, internet questions, different kinds of internet, which is really exciting for me because I just had to go shopping for internet because we moved, and I had a lot of these questions, and I still didn't get all the answers to them. So I get to personally get my questions answered as well as hopefully answering some of yours. And the first thing, I'm sure you have all kinds of things you can talk about, but the first thing that's like just burning in my mind is that when I wanted internet, I wanted Wi-Fi, right? Like I don't know, maybe there's a lot of people out there who are still like using Ethernet cables, but like I just want Wi-Fi in my house, and if I can do that, I'm happy. So when I saw things that said wireless internet, that sounded really exciting, but then I realized that wireless internet wasn't meaning Wi-Fi, it was meaning a different thing, because then there were other kinds of internet that also gave you Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So like break that down for me, maybe like I'm 5, just to make sure I
So I guess that's one
right.
thing that, like techies kind of get hung up on, all the little details, and most people just want to have internet. And they want to have internet on their laptop or their iPad, or faster internet on their cell phone, or not use up the data plan on their cell phone. Mm-hmm. And how that internet gets to you, there's lots of different types of technologies that can do that. So like here at Wind River Internet, we started out as a fixed wireless provider. So the internet, it's kind of like a cell phone, where there's a tower and it goes to your house, but instead of just one wide signal that goes everywhere, we have it beam directly from your house to the tower, and it's always there. You always get the same amount of bandwidth, and then once it's inside the house, it goes to a Wi-Fi router, and that's where you get your Wi-Fi. And there's also satellite internet, where it can go up into outer space and back, and then there's cable internet, where obviously if you're in town, you can get that off of a pole or dug through your yard and goes into your Wi-Fi router to give you Wi-Fi. You can get personal hotspots from cell phone providers, which is always tricky because they say unlimited, but a lot of the times there's an actual data cap, and then they limit the amount of speed or they charge extra. It's really kind of, I don't know, iffy.
Yeah, we actually looked into that, and that was kind of the answer, is like, yeah, you can have unlimited data as long as you only want like 10 gigs of it to actually be useful. And then I was like, I don't want that.
Yeah, so some of the differences, like there's broadband internet. So like if you remember, there was dial-up internet way back when, and that was over the telephone lines, mm-hmm. and it was analog to digital, and you'd hear that little beeping noise where it's converting tones into ones and zeros back and forth over the phone. And that was, you could look at like static images fairly okay, but moving video is like the highest use of bandwidth, and yeah, it just did not work for that. And then you've got DSL, which goes over phone lines, and DSL works depending on how close you are to their central office. It can be pretty good and pretty fast, but the further you get away from that, the slower it gets.
Are there places that offer DSL in Riverton?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah. So like the CenturyLink and Wyoming.com, and there's some providers that still use the regular telephone service for internet, and it's not a bad option, but it's not an option for everybody. Then like I said, cable TV. Mm-hmm. They are able to push internet over the cable TV lines, and it's still a modem, so it's still using that line to convert the signals, and it typically has really good download speeds. So like when you're downloading information, it comes really fast, but sending it back upstream through the cable network typically isn't as fast. So I'm not exactly sure what the rates are, depends on the cable provider, but it could be 100 megabytes or more. Yeah, but the download might only be 10 or 20, or the upload might only be 10 or 20. So to send information, like what we're doing right now, the live streaming, you want to have a good upload speed.
Because we're sending the video.
Yeah, because we're sending the video out.
The people watching it, that's their download speed, right?
Yeah, right. And like
Interesting.
here at Wind River Internet, the technologies that we use are the fixed wireless and fiber optic. And both of those technologies actually have a pretty decent upload speed. Like instead of only being 1/10 or 1/5 the speed of the download, they're at least half or sometimes the same speed. Like on our fiber optic, it's what they call it symmetrical.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have 100 megs down, you also have 100 megs up. Or if you have 1,000 megabytes down, you have 1,000 megabytes up.
Okay, so once again, pretending I'm five. Fiber optic, I've heard of like Google Fi and like the big fiber. I feel like when I hear about fiber optics, it's always in reference to like some big infrastructure thing where it's like, yeah, we're going to put fiber optics down, but like I don't actually know what that means.
So fiber optics is the fastest technology of internet, and it's light speed. So you're only limited by the connectors on the ends, the little diodes that transfer the light into digital signals, and that's usually what they've been using to connect towns together or large circuits together. But more recently, in the past decade or so, like Google started putting it all the way into the home. So they refer to that as fiber to the home, or fiber to the premise, or fiber to the X, and that's the best way to go. There's a couple different types of fiber optic. There's actually a lot of different types of fiber optic technologies that go on it and different wavelengths. In Arapahoe, we're using what's called active Ethernet fiber optic. So everybody is getting an individual fiber optic line to our CO, and so they're not sharing it with anybody else. There's also what they call GPON, where they split the light, and everybody kind of shares that same fiber. They usually do like a 30-to-1 or like a 60-to-1. People sharing that one fiber optic, and that's usually what that's the most common one because they don't have to run as much cable, especially if you're doing over the phone lines and things, or the telephone or power poles. Mm-hmm. And in town, we're doing a mix of that. So like businesses can get either the active Ethernet or they can do the GPON, and we're going to be putting in XGPON, which is actually going to do 10 gigabits. So we can get businesses right now 10 gigabit Ethernet or fiber optic, or residentials will soon be able to also get the 10 gig as well. So which is so fast. I mean, you have a hard time finding anything that can use it.
Just to make sure I understand, normally like you're measuring internet in megabits, right? So like, and then a gigabit would be 1,000 times that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're like getting so stupidly fast that it's like, how will you ever even use all of this speed?
Well, you know the phrase that picture's worth 1,000 words?
Mm-hmm.
That's true. And when you get into high definition, you're talking 24 to 60 frames per second of pictures in 1 second of video. That's why I was saying earlier, video is the largest strain on the internet. I can't remember the last time I looked at it. Netflix was 80% of the internet traffic or something ridiculous because it just uses so much bandwidth. They actually had to scale it back during the pandemic just because people were using too much.
Too much Netflix.
So they kind of turned the quality back a little bit, just because, yeah.
So you guys do fiber optic, and I assume that's limited in geography to places where you can lay cable.
Yeah, obviously not everybody does fiber optic everywhere because it's very expensive to put in.
Yeah.
It has come down over the years. That's why we're starting to get it out there. So our fiber optic is in Arapahoe right now. It's going to be in Ethatee and Fort Washakie soon. We do have it running through Federal in Riverton, parts of Federal, Monroe, Main Street, from Daylight Donuts up to where we're at now by Smith's.
Okay. And
we're going to be kind of spreading that out as demand. So if you guys want it, let us know because we'll expedite those areas of town.
And then with the fixed wireless, right, which is where it's like beaming the internet from a tower, there you're restricted geographically to like where towers are, right?
Right. Yeah.
So we were talking about the fact that I just moved and I wanted to buy your internet, but I couldn't because there's a hill between my house and the tower. Are there plans to expand the amount of towers for you guys?
So like we just put up 2 new towers this week.
Oh wow.
So now we have 40 either towers or repeater sites across Fremont County. And unfortunately, it's not where you're at right now. But we'll work on that.
Sorry, Dad.
Let me know. I'll buy your internet if you ever let
Yeah,
me.
they're in Fort Washakie. So some people, if you've called before in Fort Washington, we couldn't give you a service, give us a call again, because there's a good chance we can probably do it now. There were two major areas we've been trying to get to for a long time, and now we can.
I do have some questions about some of that service. I'm ready to take a few questions.
Sure.
All right. Well, the first question came from Beverly, and she asked, what do you offer in comparison with Spectrum, phone, cable, internet? Basically just wants to know what all Wind River Internet offers.
So we're primarily an internet service provider, just the straight internet. We do also offer phone service, so you can have like a regular landline phone. It just replaces whatever you currently have, and you can use your existing analog phones, or you can get a digital phone that has more features. Those start at just $20 a month. Actually, just like $18 a month, but there's some federal fees and stuff on there. But it ends up being around 20, and it's unlimited long distance at that price too. And business phones, we do a lot of business phones, so you can do the whole office at really affordable rates. It's only $24 for the main line, and then the extensions are only $10. So you can set up the whole office, and it doesn't tie up the phone if multiple people are on. So if you had one phone number coming in and 10 extensions, all 10 extensions could be people could be talking to people. You never get a busy signal ever. It can go to a voicemail, or it can reroute and go to a cell phone or another location, and you can physically take the phones from location to location too. So it can be like it's one office, even though you're in different areas. If you got an office in Riverton and in Lander, so we do a lot of those.
But you guys don't do cable.
We don't do cable, but call and let us know if you want to, because we are working on it. Like in the fall, we're probably going to start offering a cable-like service. So it'll be a little box that you hook up to your TV, and you'll be able to flip through all the local channels and channel surf and all that.
Well, Kim would like to know if you will be servicing Missouri Valley Road area, and then Levi asked if you can get service in Hudson.
Missouri Valley we're working on. I don't believe we have that area yet, depending on where you live. That area's got hills around it, like we were talking about before. For the type of speeds that we deliver, we have to have what we call line of sight to a tower. Hudson, we do have service in Hudson. We have a tower in the middle of town, and then there's some stuff in Fort Washakie or Arapahoe that can reach in Hudson. And then we're working on some other plans there too to get it even better out in Hudson.
Okay. I have a router question. So Wes asked, he says our router is in the living room. How can we improve the signal for the back rooms in the house?
Well, that's a really good question. That comes up
Yeah.
a lot. So it gets really tricky. We were talking about Spectrum, the company, but they're calling themselves that because Spectrum is like a wireless spectrum, is referred to for doing Wi-Fi, and there's certain technologies go further than others. So the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi spectrum is the fastest, but it's also goes the shortest distance. So if you have the option on your router to do 2.4 gigahertz versus the 5.8 gigahertz, try switching to that one. That'll work in your back rooms better. It maxes out, depending on some things, around 50 to 80 megabytes on the 2.4, where the 5 gigahertz can go all the way up to gigabit speeds.
So I know that even just like in Walmart, there are like Wi-Fi range extenders that you can
Yes.
stick in a wall. Do those work?
Yes, kind of. Sometimes they create more problems. So yeah, if you buy a Wi-Fi range extender, like here we have what we call managed Wi-Fi routers. So you can just lease them from us, and we set them up and we optimize them so they don't interfere with equipment outside or your neighbors. And you can actually download an app and monitor it yourself, and you can change frequencies, or you can see which devices have a weak signal or not. Our product's called Minimum. The Wi-Fi routers, you can't, the extenders, if you put them on your existing network, you don't want to put it in the back room where you want the better signal. You actually want to put it in the middle between where your current router is and where you want to have good service, because it's basically going to take where you do have a good signal and extend it to where you want to have good signal. And like I was talking about having the limited amount of spectrum, you can run into problems because if you put a Wi-Fi extender in your house, multiple Wi-Fi extenders in your house, they'll actually interfere with each other and create a slower internet for you. It's kind of counterintuitive.
They like cancel each other out.
Yeah, exactly. So if they're using the same frequencies, or you've got neighbors that are close by that are using the same frequencies, or the equipment that's on the house is using the same frequencies, then it can actually make it slower. They're actually kind of a pain for us because we get people that say their Wi-Fi doesn't work well and somewhere, but they're going through an extender, but we can't see the extender. That they're having a problem with the extender and not with their main router. So that's if you do it with Wi-Fi. The best way to do it though is to run an Ethernet cable between the two Wi-Fi routers. So if you can take the Wi-Fi router in your living room and you can run an Ethernet cable to your back room and then plug in another access point, basically a range extender, then you're not wasting that spectrum that connects the two of them together and creating the interference for the two of them together. And that's the best way to do it. And like we offer that as a service for $100. We'll run that cable, and then you don't have. That's the best way to do it if you can afford it, or you own your own home, or you get a permission from your landlord.
Because that runs through the wall.
Yeah, it can go through a crawl space. It can go on the outside of the home, or it can go
through like an attic.
Or an attic in the roof.
But that's not just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna run this cord down the hall. It's like
that's like a professional installation. Yeah. You could theoretically just buy a cable and run it down the hall, but I wouldn't recommend it.
You'd trip on it a lot and stuff. It might be I'm just imagining myself sitting there with like tape, just like taping this cable to my wall, going, yeah, I'm gonna get this cheap, good internet.
Yeah, and hardwired internet, like the Ethernet connection, is still the best way to go, especially for desktops. If you've got an Xbox or a PlayStation or whatever, and they're right there by your TV, plug as much as you can into that through Ethernet, because the more devices you have, I like to refer to it as like a basket of apples. If you've got one bad apple in the bunch, you've got a cell phone in the back room with a weak connection, it'll actually slow down everything with a better connection in the other room, because it has to keep resending that same information that's not getting to the bad apple. So if you've got a router that has multiple channels in the front room close to the router, use the 5.9 or the 5 gigahertz. If you've got stuff in the back room, connect it to the 2.4. If you do put a range extender, put it in the middle of your house. Anything you can connect through Ethernet that you're not physically going to be moving around. Those are the ways to optimize and have the best connectivity.
Well, I have a couple questions. A couple people are asking if fiber internet is going to be available on Ethity anytime soon.
Yes, yeah, we're working on it. As we got people out in the field right now. They're doing Mill Creek housing project first, and then we'll be doing the other housing projects in Ethity and all the homes in between this summer. So.
Do you have like Tommy's asking if you have like any kind of a date or a time frame where you think it might be done?
Before the ground freezes.
Before the ground freezes.
Before the ground freezes.
There you go, Tommy. Before the ground
So soon does mean soon. It's not like in the next year and a half.
No.
It's like the next month or two.
Yeah, the people in Mill Creek will be the first, and that will probably be maybe late July. And then everybody else will be in the fall sometime. There is an equipment shelter that we got to put in Ethity, and that with COVID, it slowed everything down. We were hoping we would already have some of that turned up by now, but
that's just like a summary of the world. COVID slowed everything down.
Why?
Just everything.
We did have a comment from Kay calling Thunder, and my internet works great, and I live in Ethity. Thank you for the Wi-Fi. So you do have Wi-Fi service in Ethity, then, right?
Yeah, okay. we do have Wi-Fi service in Ethity, and we're working on getting that better every chance we get. So like over in Arapahoe, we hooked a new tower up to fiber yesterday. So the fiber is going all the way directly to the tower, which allows us to have a better connection for the wireless people.
Whereas the tower beams that out.
Yeah, because usually the way the towers and wireless providers work is they usually beam from tower to tower. And every time you get what they call a hop, you introduce latency. So latency is like, so you can think of bandwidth like the train or a semi. And it moves a lot of information, but it's not super fast. And latency, the lag, is like the Ferrari. That's how fast you go. And with fiber optic internet, it's literally light speed less than 1 millisecond. There's 1,000 milliseconds in 1 second. And so you go fiber optic, some of the microwave links in wireless technologies are as little as 10 milliseconds. Same with like cable and DSL, they range under like 50 to 100 milliseconds. Cell phones usually hover in the hundreds of milliseconds, so there's a little bit more delay. And you can even notice that when you're talking to people, especially if it goes through like a Bluetooth connection. Yeah. There's just a little, you can just kind of notice. Sometimes you say hello and they say hello.
Yeah, you like overlap each other slightly. Yeah. And you do that with internet, like on Zoom calls and stuff.
Exactly.
It's always like, who's talking?
That's the lag. That's the high latency that I'm talking about. And if you've got a bad internet connection, that latency it can be in the hundreds of milliseconds. If it gets into the thousands of milliseconds, that's where it's literally seconds behind. And every time you got especially with something like Zoom, where you've got two people that are having latency issues, then the delay gets magnified.
Oh, because it goes both ways.
It goes both ways. Yeah.
I'm delayed and you're delayed.
Yep.
Oh man.
So that's something you got to look out for.
Okay.
Now I lost track of what the original question was.
No, I did too. I think it was just came off the thank you for the Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you for using our service. I just wanted to say that we're working hard on it all the time, and we're trying to improve services for existing customers. Like our existing customers, thank you so much, because without you, we wouldn't be able to put in the fiber optics and keep growing. So,
do we have other questions?
We do have another question. Shelley is asking, when will you have service available to all of the Johnstown Valley area?
We're working on that.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, I know
seems to be a consistent theme.
Like, I don't know where that's at. So
yeah, that actually is probably going to happen this fall.
Oh, nice.
It's going to be fixed wireless. We are going to be able to get some of the main roads onto fiber, and that'll probably be next summer. But the people that are further out in Johnstown will probably still be wireless, but the areas that are going to be full of fiber are going to eventually get wireless speeds for the few that are not able to get fiber, that are comparable to fiber. Like we were actually testing out some technologies where we can do fiber-like speeds over wireless. So we've got a couple people that are testing it now, and it works. Like in my house, I've got it, it's great. But it can't go very far, so there's limited applications. We can't do it for everybody, but the areas where we run fiber, we'll be able to do that for people that are a little bit too far to run fiber.
So I have a personal question, right? For people like me who live in a place where there's sort of a tower, but there's a hill or an obstruction between me and the tower. So like our only hope is if you build another tower from a different angle,
yes.
Right?
So what we've done in the past, and I'll ask you right now, is if you know of somebody that lives on a hill near you, like have them give us a call.
Okay.
If we can get 10 people that need service, we'll give that person on the hill free internet to let us bounce the signal around to the people that can.
Oh, wow. I wish I lived on that hill.
I gotta find that person on the hill.
And it's
why don't I live on the
pretty
hill?
Go door to door.
Yeah, it's pretty unobtrusive. They're just a couple radios that are about like half a foot big that go on a pole in your house, so it's not massive. And the power that they use is incredibly low. It's less than 50 watts of power, so less than leaving a light bulb on. Yeah.
So any of you guys that live on a hill, if you want free internet, find a bunch of your neighbors that want it and can't get it because of your hill.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to go hill hunting.
You are. You go door to door. That's all the questions I have right now.
What I have one more just out of curiosity, again personal curiosity. It sounds like you guys are continuously expanding, building towers, reaching new areas. You said you built 2 in the last week, right?
We finished them.
Finished them, yeah.
We've been working on them for
they
for
take
months.
a while.
They go pretty quick once we get everything in order, but
how many are currently under construction, if any, or in process?
We've got, the 2 that we've been working on, and then we've got another 4 sites that I know of that we're pretty sure are gonna happen. So.
And then I assume there's a bunch more that you're thinking about as, okay, maybe we could go
Yeah.
there, but that's longer term?
Yeah, there's some locations we still want to get to, but we gotta have an intermediary site. Like, they want it out here, we got our service here, but we need somewhere in the middle.
Mhm.
So we're still looking for that middle spot.
I did just get another question. So Kay, who is thankful for your Wi-Fi, wants to know what exactly does the fiber do?
It's just faster internet.
It's just
So like,
faster.
if you've got the fixed wireless, currently the fastest speed you can get is 24 megabytes, which is high-speed internet. That's the fastest you can get on high-speed internet. Anything 25 megabytes and over is considered broadband internet. And broadband internet is what the fiber is. And it starts at 100 megabytes a second. So it's already more than 4 times faster than the fastest high-speed internet that we offer. And it goes all the way up to currently, for residential, gigabit. So I can't do the math real quick, but it's 40 times faster or more.
Yeah,
And then we can
that's
do
right.
10 gigabit here for businesses and eventually for residential, which then gets it another 10 times faster.
So you're talking 400 times faster.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Which
And then that latency thing that I was talking about, when you have a wireless signal or a cell phone or satellite, not only is there latency on like how much of a delay there is, but they call it jitter on how much that varies. So sometimes you'll have a 20 millisecond, sometimes you'll have an 80 or millisecond, and when it goes up and down like that, that's when real-time services suffer. If you're playing video games or Zoom, that's when you get the weird echoey and stuttery and sound like a fishbowl type of thing.
because you're fast 1 second,
Yeah.
slow the next.
Now fiber optic is perfectly steady. It doesn't have any jitter whatsoever. So that's the other advantage. Real time stuff is just phenomenal, and that's what we talk about, like telehealth and telemedicine. You can do things with that real time interactivity, like people doing surgeries with robots and stuff, with that kind of
Wow.
connection, because it's that quick and that's that responsive.
I was just thinking, like, why would you ever need internet that fast? And then doing surgery with robots, okay, that's a valid reason to need internet that fast.
Important.
Please
Important.
don't lag when you slice my heart open. Like, goodness.
I know that's an extreme, but yeah,
Yeah.
there's it's interesting because they say internet demand doubles every 18 months, which is kind of crazy to think about.
That is insane.
And right now we don't know exactly what that 10 gigabit internet's really going to be needed for, because nobody's developed anything because nobody had it. But now that people have that kind of connectivity, people are figuring out ways to do it. Like the biggest thing right now is like 4K Ultra HD video.
Yeah,
That
which a few years ago, it's like HD was all there was, and
Yeah.
then like they invented a new, more HD.
Yeah, so in terms of megabytes and video speed, like a regular VHS tape is about a megabyte. Is what it takes to deliver that kind of video. And like a DVD, you're looking at like 2 or 3 megabytes, and a Blu-ray, you're looking at closer to around like 5 to 10 for a really good quality. And then 4K HD, they compressed it and they've done a lot of fancy stuff, but it still takes up to like 20 megabytes. So that uses one full K stream uses up your whole wireless internet connection. Like only one person can watch it that quality. And there's a lot of things that they do where they'll drop you down to like DVD quality, or different quality levels if multiple people join. So that helps a lot. I think Netflix has like 8 or 9 different streams of every show. That way, if you don't have a good connection, it'll drop you down to the lower quality, and you'll see it. People get a little blurry or blocky sometimes, and that's just them dynamically adjusting the video for you, which is pretty cool.
That is.
But yeah, short answer: fiber optic is way faster, a lot more reliable. We try really hard to keep the wireless services up as 99.999% of the time. I think we're operating at 99 point something. But yeah, when things are outside in the weather, they're going from one connection to another. There's more susceptibility to super high winds and vandalism and power outages and things. So
I have a question. So, is your office currently open to customers now, or are you still closed?
We haven't determined when we're going to open up the office.
Okay.
The office is, we're all here, we're all working, but we're not open to the public yet. So we have a drop box for payments, and we do everything over the phone or appointments. We can do appointments.
So if somebody calls you and asks if they can come in and talk, then
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Just don't show up like unannounced.
Yeah.
I am here.
Yeah, we're just trying to limit the spread, especially since we're going into people's homes. The worst thing that could happen is if, you know, we got exposed in the office and then we start going to a bunch of different people's houses. So we're just trying to limit it.
That'd be some pretty bad press if the next headline is Wind River Internet gives all of Wyoming COVID.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
That's fair. We don't want that.
Yeah, so we're being extra careful with our masks and social distancing, and we actually ask when we do internet installs that everybody be in a separate room from when they have to go inside, and we limit that amount of time to just only being a couple minutes. We do almost everything outside.
Anything else?
That's all the questions I have.
Well, cool.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for answering all my questions. I feel like I
no
just
problem.
threw them at you. Again, this is all just my own thoughts. I've had a lot of questions about these things, so.
Yeah, you guys are welcome to look at our website, windriverinternet.com, or us on Facebook. We're just Wind River Internet, and we're happy to help with all kinds of needs for internet, and also we do computer repair services as well, and networking, and
Oh,
yeah.
good to know.
Are we doing this again next week? Or yes, maybe? You're sure?
I'm not sure yet, but we will definitely put information out for people so they know when another one's coming up. And I did put all of Wind River Internet's contact information in the comments. So if you're too busy to go to the website, phone number, address, everything is on there.
Oh, awesome!
Give
Thank you.
them a call.
Yeah, just I guess let us know if you want us to do more shows. Or you just stopped it.
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just let us know if you like these, and we'll continue to do them.
Yeah, and anybody out there has a topic that you think we should discuss, yeah, send it to us. Just shoot us a message on Facebook, either Wind River Internet or County 10, and let us know what topic you think would be great for us to do.
Thanks for watching us. Huh?